Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to my shop. It's time for an upgrade to the slider. For about 10 years now, I've been using clamps like this on the slider. Just this week, I received the Airtight clamps, and this video is going to show you how I install it on this slider. Okay, so now I'm ready for the installation. And after a brief discussion with Mac at Airtight, I decided to forego installing this roller first, because what needs to happen is there's fittings here, and this roller needs to be centered on the air supply. So the first step I'm going to be doing is taking this plate off and drilling some holes for these fittings. And the yellow fitting is the air supply, and that will be the next step. And I just need to decide what channel I need to put this in for the best, for the most effect. And in order to do that, I want to look at the other end first to see where it lays out in with the handle. So I'm going to move to the other end of the saw. Okay, this is the handle end of the slider. Here's the handle. This is the table lock. And before I pull this off, I just need to make sure it clears the support structure, and it does. And on the Martin T60, and I don't know whether this is true for all the Martins, but there is a felt pad under here to release. And this is charged with lubricant. It cleans and lubricates this charged pad, cleans and lubricates the ways for the slider. Plate in, and the cap screw is holding the handle. Oh, this is a separate plate. I'm going to pull this off just for ease of access. But what I need to do is attach these bulkhead fittings into this end of the plate, but I need to clear the handle as well. But let me look at the channels. So what I need to do is make sure I've got enough clearance between this nut and that plate, such that the nut does not interfere with that interface. And I also need to look at where this falls in relationship to where the handle will sit. So it looks like I've got enough room here. I think I'll try to keep that as low as I can, try to keep them centered on the handle. Well, I don't know whether I'm going to put one down one channel or one down the next. I'm going to give some thought to that before proceeding on drilling holes, so I'll let you know how that turns out here shortly. Okay, I've thought through this a little bit, and I've decided to run one tube down this side of the web and the other down the other side. And on this side, I'm planning on putting the air supply, which would be the blue tube. And on the opposite end, there will be two bulkhead connections there. And that's really, it's kind of a jockeying thing for this one, because I've got this handle here. I don't want it too close to the ends of the handle, but I still want access to make these right angle connections. So I'm going to drill these holes. I marked the web, just put a piece of masking tape over, and I drew a line 18 millimeters, which is just shy of 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of this plate. It will not interfere with this, because these right angle connectors are just a little bit bigger than the bulkhead connections. So, but you want to if you're going to install this, whatever slider you're doing it on, make sure that you don't interfere with the webbing in your slider and work around any interferences. So this is kind of what I've decided on, and I'm going to take a center punch, mark these centers, and then take this to the drill press and drill the hole, or drill the holes. So I've set this up with a 1/2-inch drill bit, and I'd just like to make a few comments about safety. My last woodworking injury was about 25 years ago, and it was on the drill press. I was drilling a piece of hard maple, about 8 inches long, with a 1-inch Forster bit on the end, and I ended up in the emergency room getting my arm x-rayed. So I don't mess around with drill presses anymore. I'm using a fence. I've secured my steel to this scrap piece of pine, and with a couple of screws in the mounting holes, and I've positioned the fence to where it marks with my tap centers, and I'm going to clamp this thing. Okay, whenever I'm handling metal, I just seem to always find the slivers. It's like when my mom made cherry pie, I was always the one that got the cherries or the slice with the pits in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my drill driver and unscrew this plate. And there will be burrs on the back side. You can use any number of ways, and actually there'll be burrs on the top side too. So what I'm going to do is take this off. And you can use either a small spiral band, sandpaper file, rat tail file, but I've got this deburring tool. I'm just going to run it around both sides. Okay, one thing I've discovered is pushing these very flexible hoses through this long sliding table is kind of like pushing on a rope or a wet noodle. So I'm going to take a thin cutoff here that's probably a little less than 8 feet long, and I am going to tape this end and see if I can push it far enough through to get through. So the black one's going on the outside. Oh yeah, this will hot better. Going to tape on an extension. I hope I can retrieve this. We'll see. Okay, I've got my hoses put through. Now the first thing I need to do is disconnect the hoses so I can attach the bulkhead fittings. Okay, these are connected with barbs, and I think if I get a heat gun and heat this up, this may be a little easier to get off. To soften this tubing up so it'll come off those barbs easier. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm attaching the bulkhead fittings. I've removed the retaining nut off. I want to put these quick release latches in the upward position so that I can get easy access, and then just attach this retaining nut. Okay, and now these are fixed to where they will not rotate. I'm going to put the barbs back, or the hoses back on. And these, I'm going to use a wrench, but I'm not going to overly tighten them. Okay, and let's see how these hook up. So the blue goes against the, toward the blade, toward the saw blade, and the black toward the outside. So I don't use that handle a whole lot, but that's not too much in the way. So this end's done. Now it's time to go to the other end. Okay, I'm at the opposite end of the machine, on the outfeed side of the blade, and I've got the plate off, and now I'm deciding where to put this, these bulkhead fittings in this end plate. And the yellow marked hose is the air inlet, and I want that positioned as close to the center as possible because I need to mount the roller for the air inlet as close to where that connection is in the center of the roller, so I can position that roller anywhere along this plate, and I'll get to that later. But these are the locations I decided on. What I did, I marked out where the webbing was in the extrusion to avoid that, and I'm staying a ½ inch away from either side of that. So I'm back to using the center punch and the drill press, and I'm not going to show that. It's pretty much the same wash, rinse, and repeat cycle we went before. Okay, so I've got the bulkhead fittings attached. I put the one with the yellow marker in the center, and I'm going to put labels on them later just so I don't forget. You do have a little play. It looks like about, maybe 4 inches or so, maybe a little more. Okay, those are the clamp connections. Now the next step is to install this roller, and I talked with Mac this morning, and what we want to do is make sure this air supply is approximately centered on this roller. Now this end plate structure appears to be pop riveted or expanded with some type of expansion device on the end, so there's no way for me to remove it without drilling those out. And this is steel, and I think what I'm going to do in lieu of drilling that out is get some self-drilling, tapping sheet metal screws and attach this. And to be honest with you, if it doesn't work out, then I really haven't lost a whole lot, because I can just re-drill it out for these button head screws and nylock washers, and drill this out and pull it off. So I need to find my sheet metal screws and rock on from there. Now it's time to install the roller assembly. And as I said before, these look like some kind of pop rivet. I'm not sure what's behind this, but I want to stay far enough away from the edges to where I do not affect the integrity of the sliding table support structure. So I've taken the roller out, I've marked the center line here, and I've taken a square and gone up and eyeballed to where the center line of the air inlet is, and I marked the line. And I've decided to go ahead and just line up those two centers, and I've drawn another line and put some center punches to use these two holes. And instead of using the provided nylock washer, I'm going to use what I have on hand. I know I had some self-drilling, self-tapping screws, but I know they were the largest I had was a number 10, and this is a 1/4 20. I think this will be a little more stout. So what I'll do is pre-drill the holes. Okay. And put the roller back in. So the first thing I'm going to do is hook the air line up to it. And then I'm just going to mount it back on the side of the slider here. Hook the inlet. Now we're going to apply air. Okay, I've got the air hooked up. And get this, slide this further down here so more of it will be in the screen. And I've got some blocks of wood here. Let's see how this works. Okay, right now the slide valve is in the down position on the other opposite side clamp, so both of these will engage. It's pretty secure. Of course, this one I got a lot more leverage on, but I cannot move it side to side. You know, right at the clamp, it's pretty blooming secure. But if you want to operate the clamps independently, there's a slide valve up here. What you need to do is turn that. That's the off position. Slide it up, and you can operate this clamp independently of this one back here. One thing I've learned about this is that to move the slide valve down, if I operate it and don't move this valve back to the other direction to engage the cylinder, when I engage it, this clamp does not operate. So if I engage it, then operate that, then both clamps will operate. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on the installation of the Airtight clamps onto a Martin T60 slider. It was a fairly straightforward installation. I did have to, probably the biggest decision in the whole thing is deciding where you want to route your tubes and mount your bulkhead connectors. It seems to be pretty good. I mean, it doesn't interfere with the handle. I can put them on and off on either end. And so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to ask any questions, post any comments. Thanks for watching.